Live. Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Bailey Strand. This is the second Strand Cast, and we are featuring an amazing young man. Yo, this guy, like, I'm surprised he doesn't have a bigger audience because this guy provides so much value fitness-wise to people, and he's got a big thing coming up June 1st, so I'm excited to hear what that's all about. Yo, introduce yourself, man.
What's up, guys? My name is Mike Czern. I am from Pennsylvania, United States. Like he said, really into fitness, but I think what we are going to be moving into going forward is going to, go beyond fitness. So I'm excited to share that with you guys on the Strand Cast here. I am 22 years old, and I'm excited to, try to touch as many lives as we can through, these kind of platforms. So super exciting, and I'm dope to share this opportunity with the Strand Cast right now.
Let's go, man. I'm fired up too, man, because that's one thing. As much as I love business, I love fitness too, man. I've been doing it for so long, so I'm excited to get into it. So before we get into everything, when you first started your fitness journey, because there's a lot of people I know that are going to be watching this that are going to be like, man, I need to get that kickstart. I want to get started in my fitness journey. They're either overweight or underweight. So explain to everyone, how did you get into fitness, and what was the big reason why you got into it? Was there a turning point in your life that I was like, man, I'm sick and tired of the way things are going. I need to kick myself into shape. So explain to the audience a little bit about that.
Actually, it's nothing like that. So I grew up, I was always playing sports. Now, you got to understand, right now I am dieting and I'm competing for my very first men's physique show. And I never thought when I was a kid that I would actually reach to this point, because I was always that short, stubby, overweight kid. But I always played sports. I played baseball, I played football, and I actually went to Temple University in Philadelphia for my 4-year undergraduate degree. And my freshman year, I was going to try out for the football team twice, and both times I didn't make it. And it really hurt me because sports was my life. Like when you're in high school and you're playing sports, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So when that was kind of taken from me and I knew I couldn't play sports, I played rec league softball, I played flag football, you know what I mean? But that's not the same. So I had to find a way. And right now I'm 185 as far as my weight goes. And when I was a freshman in college, I was 215, but it was
holy.
Yo, dude, I would eat a lot of food because that was my thing. I didn't even know about speed training. It was just get big. You know what I mean? Because that's how we were preached growing up. And I was I was looking at myself and I was like, this isn't right. I need to start losing weight and, getting shredded and whatnot. And it's been taking me a while, but that's when I knew I had to start eating healthy, and I didn't want to lose that fitness aspect. And so that's why I just kind of started researching on how to eat properly, and, proper exercise structuring. So that way I could start to shape my body into the way I want it to going forward.
No, I feel you, man. Yeah, that's the other thing too. That's how I kind of got into it. I was a hockey player most of my life, and I wanted to make it big. Like every kid has, he has that dream of going to the show, and then all of a sudden I was trying out for junior teams. I was too small, and I was like, well, man, that sucks, because now my dream's diminished, and what do I do now? So I really got into fitness right after, like you said, you get into fitness, and it just becomes a passion, right? Because you're seeing, thing is with fitness, it's you versus you, right? And you're grinding every single day to get better. And when you see those results, it's addictive. You can't get enough of it. So yeah, I love the fire that you have about it. So let's move a little forward into it now. So where are you getting into now with your fitness goals? Because, when you see those results, it's amazing. But after that, you want to take it to the next level. So what really got you into bodybuilding and taking that physique to another level?
Well, I want to actually say, because before we started this podcast, Billy and I were talking and saying that it's important to find someone that you could kind of do your stuff with. And when I was a sophomore in college, I actually moved in with a roommate that I've never met before. And he was on this really healthy eating kick. He was kind of skinnier himself. He's been on that path for a little bit at that point. And that's what changed my perspective. You know what I mean? So starting off to do it with someone is really what's gonna kick you into gear, because I feel like some people can't do it on their own. They need that accountability. And for me, with him, that was my accountability. You know what I mean? Yeah. But as far as going forward, to answer your question, you just have to there's never gonna be an end goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You always, you know what I mean? So I thought every time I hit a goal, I thought that was the biggest platform I could get to. But then once you finally get to it, you're like, wait a second, I can do better than that now. You know what I mean? So I don't see that there's ever an end goal. That's
No.
kind of answering your question there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that like once you see that things can get done, and once you realize that, you know, when you take small steps and you complete the small goals, it'll eventually lead you to that big thing that you want at the end. But it's crazy that even that big goal at the end can get even bigger, right? And I love to see, you know, when you see a physique change, when you see it, like for myself, when I was 14, I was 75 pounds, and like I was like this stick and bones, and this guy trained me and he really pushed me to be like, you know what, man, I can see that you're gonna have a great physique. And I even considered doing bodybuilding until like I saw the health risk kind of thing. But this guy motivated me to gain like crazy amount of strength and muscle, and just having that person to fire you up, and then it creates that fire within you, and then all you want to do is just create, like, you just want to kill it even more and more and more, and then, you know, like all of a sudden you're like, man, look at the things that I've accomplished. But then you got so much to look forward to. Like you said, there's never that end goal.
Yeah, and I think what people need to look at though is like, it's not just the goal, the end goal. Like I really, really thrive off the process, because like you reach that goal, but then when you set a new goal, like the process gets longer, and I actually love it. I don't know about you, but like that, the whole journey really just makes sense to me.
Oh, I agree. I see, the way I look at it now is just like for every small goal that I complete, it's just getting me closer to those things, like to get to turn me into the person I want. Because, you know, I don't believe that anyone should have an end goal. Like you said, I believe that life's just this big journey, and at the end of it, you know, the legacy that you leave behind and the value that you provide to people is like way more important than anything else. Yeah, you're completing this, but the thing that you got to realize is that, like, you know, by you completing everything that you're doing, you're inspiring someone to get there, to complete their goals and get shit done. And it could be in any aspect of your life. Even it's like we were talking about before the podcast, you know, providing value to people is way more important, even if you have no audience whatsoever, right? But it takes one person to be like, man, your shit like really inspired me, and it's how I got in contact with you. Just I saw the value that you provide, and I was like, man, I got to get to know this guy better. And you'll see it. That's how you grow, and it's this big long journey. And then when at the end of your life, when you see all this, I mean, we're still young, but I mean, at the end of your life, when you realize that, oh my God, like look at all these things I completed, and there was never an end goal. It was just little achievements that you made in your life.
It's very counterintuitive, but like if you think about it like this, the closer you get to your current goal, the farther away you get towards the end goal, if that makes sense. Because the closer you get towards that next goal, well, now there's already a new goal being set up. So now you're just as far away, you know, if not farther, because it just keeps getting longer and longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's never, like, you should never stop. You should always, like, even if you excel as much as you can, there's no reason why you can't start a new journey and be like, man, okay, I'm really good in fitness. All right, now let's get my nutrition on point. Let's learn as much as we can. Oh, now I mastered these things. Why can't I help other people? Yeah, it's like, that's exactly. Yeah, I believe that just growing in every aspect as you can in every area of your life will end up turning you into the person at the end of your life that you want to be. But, you know, you only realize that when you go through that process. So my next question is, was there any point where you're like, man, I just want to give up? Because that's a lot of people. That's one thing that a lot of people go through, is that, you know, that failure, or that one point in their life where like, why am I even doing this? What's the point? I'm not seeing the results I want. I'm not getting to those short-term goals. So was there a point in your life where you're like, man, I don't know if this is for me?
Are you talking about just for the fitness in general, or overall, like with anything?
Well, I'm talking about more in fitness, because a lot of people give up on their fitness goals because they don't see results right away, or they never get to where they want to go because they reach too big, or, you know, their approach to it is not right. Was there a point where you just got stuck for a second and you're like, man, like, I don't know if this is for me?
No, honestly, like, I'm gonna have to be honest, not really, because I've always saw the things happen for a reason. And I think it's important to never get caught up in the emotion of what's going on and wait for hindsight to happen. You know what I mean? So like, if things are happening poorly for you, it's like all about how you react to it. You know what I mean? And I was just brought up that way. So I've never had that instance where I was like, man, I want to give up. You know what I mean? Like when I didn't make the football team, like I found a new way. You know what I mean? It's just really killer. That's how you have to go about it. And, you know, not everyone's going to be able to get that perfect six pack. but you might be able to have a killer deadlift. And a person with a killer six-pack might not be able to have that killer deadlift. You know what I mean? So you have to find what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you have to tailor your life to that. And then once you can do that and kind of accept it, then that's when you start to grow, and you won't ever feel like you're in the midst of actually failing. You'll feel like you're in the midst of actually being able to grow more.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a really good point that people can learn from, is that because a lot of people, they give up because they don't see the results, the specific results that they want. They never look at their strengths. That's a really good point. I think people can really take value from that, just because there's so many people that give up so easily, and there's so many people that don't look at their goals like that, and they're like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not doing the best at this, but what am I doing good at? Like, what are the areas in my life that I'm doing really good? That's a really good point. I really think that people should take that into consideration, because when you have that never giving up attitude, that's how you achieve real success, right? Because the thing is that everyone wants to be someone that they're not, right? And they're always trying to achieve that person. But the thing is that when you learn your strengths and you realize that, like, that's an amazing asset that someone else wants, then you realize that, man, maybe I'm not going to be the most shredded guy in the world, but I can be in the best shape that I possibly can, or I can have the strength gains, or I can provide something to someone that can be like, man, this is the motivating factor for someone. I
was going to say that, man. Like, just because you might not be like the guy that you see on Instagram, be the person that other people might want to see on Instagram. You know what I mean? So like going back to that six-pack example, even though you might not be able to get a six-pack, you know, if you can deadlift a lot of weight, you know, that might be an inspiration for other people that don't really care about getting a six-pack. They just want to be able to deadlift a lot of weight. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, like, the person you were looking up to, you become that person. So
that's amazing, man. I love that. That really fires me up, just because I know so many people, even myself, there are days where I'm like, man, I wish I was like this. I wish I was like that. And you know, you catch yourself being like, man, I want to be like this person. I want to be like that person. But what about who you are and the way people look at you, right? Because we're stuck in our mind, and we're like, man, I envision myself like this. I want this, but I don't have it. But then there's someone out there that's like, dude, you have this and you have that.
Yeah.
Like, you have these skills, right? And I think that's something that everyone should take into consideration, is because everyone wants to be something that they're not. But the thing is that who you are is pretty freaking great. And everyone's got skills and everyone's got assets to them that is valuable to someone else. So I think that's a really good way to look at it.
And I think a lot of people, the minute you'll be able to do that for yourself is when because a lot of people like have insecurities. And I think one of the biggest insecurities when it is chasing after your own dream or passion is like, you might not have the support system. So you get caught up in what other people might think of what you're trying to do. Even if it's fitness, you might not have a family who wants to eat healthy. You know, you might not have a family that can help provide you to go to the gym. So you're afraid to like share that passion with people. But once you can let go of that insecurity, I think you get caught in like being in your own mind in a good way. You know, like I let go of that insecurity of picking up a camera and vlogging myself and being more active on social media. And once I was able to do that, I stopped worrying about what other people looked like, what other people thought of me. And now, like, I'm just going to be completely honest with you, I'm like in a non-selfish way, if that makes sense, because I think you have to only worry about yourself or you're not going to see yourself grow.
Exactly. You know, the more that you're concerned about what other people think, and like it just diminishes you getting any closer to what your goals.
Right.
That's a really good point that people can really take, just because nowadays with social media and just everything, you see the lifestyle that other people live or the bodies that other people have, and they're like, man, why aren't I there? And the only reason why you're not there is because you're not focused on yourself. You're not there to improve yourself every single day, and you're not completing those small goals, right? And if people actually took that into consideration and they're like, okay, you know what? How about instead of like caring about that this guy has 100K followers and the body and the lifestyle of your dreams, how about you focus on creating a lifestyle for you that makes you happy every single day? And then eventually you will get to that point. But it's getting started. It's like you said, like that's one thing I want to get into eventually is blogging. But you know, it's scary to just record yourself all day and be like, and providing value, because you think that other people are going to be like, oh, well, what's this guy doing? This guy doesn't even have an audience. This guy doesn't mean nothing. But it's like the only way you get an audience is by having the guts to really get out there and provide value to other people. But more importantly, to prove to yourself that you can do it, right? Anyone can do it.
So it's funny about the vlogging thing. Like, when I first started it, I did it because I wanted to gain a following. Okay. But then after a while, and I realized like it's going to be really hard to, because vlogging is actually becoming a saturated thing more and more. But I think once you can start vlogging for yourself, and like go back to what we said earlier, that it's like a virtual journal for you to come back to in 40, 50 years and be like, this was my life. You know what I mean? And it might not be in 3 years. It might be in 5. It might be in 7. People will finally find that and be like, yo, that's so dope. Because just say there's 100% of people doing it right now. If you do it for 7 years, like those 100% of people, it might dwindle down to only 25% people doing it now. You know what I mean? Because everyone else quit on it. But if you're the one part of that 25% that keeps going, you're going to be found eventually. You know what I mean? Like I told you before, just because your stuff's out there and it's not being viewed, it's not because it's not good. It's just because people don't know you're out there yet.
That's very true, man. That's very true. So let's dive into your YouTube channel. So how did you come about your YouTube channel? How did you get started, and what inspired you, or who inspired you in your life or your role models to get you going into that realm? Because that's a really scary realm to get into, especially when you have something that you want to provide to people.
Yeah, for sure. So it was probably about my sophomore year of college, the same year I was like trying to get into the whole fitness nutrition thing. And I wanted to quickly tell you, I was a journalism major my freshman year, and I actually switched over to like the whole fitness aspect for my whole major. And how did I find out about vlogging? I started watching vloggers. So I watched Christian Guzman, I watched Steve Cook, and I've been watching them for the past 3 or 4 years now. And like, it's just amazing. It blows my mind that I watched them vlog and I never thought of myself to vlog. You know what I mean? Because I was so caught up in school. But now that I see that it's a thing and it's actually like a thing to do, they're the ones that open my eyes that there's so much more out there. And if you just put it on film, like a lot can happen for you. You know what I mean? So I think anytime you want to get started, like YouTube is a monopoly right now. You could find anything out you want to, like anything fitness related, just search it in the search bar and you're going to find it real fast. You know what I mean? So you've got to be able to provide that for people, and eventually people will find you. So
no, those are.
How'd you start your podcast? You know what I mean? Like you probably have listened to a ton of podcasts.
Oh yeah. It takes a
long
time.
This is for me. And you're like, this is for me.
Oh yeah, man. That's exactly it, man. And if you look at the stories of those guys, like the Steve Cooks and the Christian Guzmans and the creators of Gymshark, David Lade, all those guys, if you go back, like I was interested in that actually, because I went all the way back to their first YouTube videos. And if you look at them, they're not the greatest quality. They don't have the most views, but they had that drive. And if you look at any successful person on YouTube, it takes 5 years to really get going.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to start today. You can't just assume that you're going to put one YouTube video out or one podcast or one Instagram post and assume that you're going to blow up just because.
And that's the other thing. Like if you look at someone like Guzman, he's an outlier because he's only 24. So, but the thing is, he started when he was 15, but maybe not vlogging, but he started with that entrepreneurial mindset. Like he was doing guitar lessons, you know, so he was fortunate in that sense to start at such a young age. But if you look at everybody else who's really successful in the YouTube industry, they're 27, they're 28. Steve Cook is 32. You know what I mean? So for you and I, who are super young, you know, like we got so many years to go. You know what I mean? Max Tuning did it he's on his 6th year, 5th year vlogging.
Oh, wow. That's what I mean. Like it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. So people took that into consideration and just put it not just in the social media sense, but in their lifestyle. Like, can you imagine in the next 5-10 years where we're going to end up by just providing value each and every single day?
But people aren't patient enough. That's the problem.
You know? Like we live in a day and age, especially with millennials, that everyone wants something quick. They want the Instagram following quick. They want the explosive YouTube channel and podcast quick. They want the body quick. They want everything quick. And like, it doesn't make sense. It just takes the patience to really grow. Like one day, you know, if 5 people watch this and they take some notice to it, like I'll be happy, but who cares? Like I'm doing this because I'm passionate. I love talking to people that are just as passionate as I am. So it's the same with you. Like what I love about your content is just how excited you get about talking about it. Because the thing is that a lot of people are scared to talk about what they love. They're scared to talk about what they want out of their life. But when you're just posting it out of just pure passion and love, like that, I think that's more important than anything else. There's no amount of money that can buy that kind of happiness and value that you provide to people.
Well, that's the thing.
So I think that's just.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. So I was ending it right there.
Yeah, so I think that's the beautiful thing is people lose sight of the fact that there's 7 billion plus people on this planet. Okay, so the 2,000 followers, you know, or maybe the 5 people that don't like your stuff, like, so what? Like, there's so many other people that will like it. And you just have to be very transparent, and transparency is key. Like, people really do vibe with that, you know what I mean? And once I was able to kind of get comfortable and be transparent with what I really want out of life and how I like to live my life, like, a lot of people have been vibing with that, you know? So I think that's one of the biggest things you have to do is just be very transparent with people.
Oh man, I 100% agree. Just being real, being your honest self, and not being anything other than that is the key. So
yeah.
let's dive into, like, where are you headed to? Like, so you're doing super well in fitness, your account's growing. What's next? What's next for your fitness adventure or anything else in your life? What are you working towards right now? Because I know that something's dropping June 1st that not many people know about. So let's dive into that. So what's going on in the future for your fitness and business venture?
Okay, so me and my cousin, Stephen Monka, we are creating what is called Coastal Collabs. I'm actually wearing the hat right now. And can you see that right there?
I love it. You're gonna have to get me one of those hats.
Yeah.
Tell me how much they are. I'll get one.
Yeah, I'll let you know when it all drops. But we started this brand called Coastal Collabs, and we really wanted to dive into this whole fitness thing. But, like, we feel like if you hold yourself to one wall or one niche, like, you could kind of, like, block yourself off. So with this podcast, you can talk to anybody you want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, any industry. So what we want to do is we started off by wanting to just do a YouTube channel, but now we want to do every bit of platform that we can. And we want to share people's stories because we believe that there are people with extraordinary results and doing extraordinary things, but they're normal people with a normal story, or with an extraordinary story, I should say. You know what I mean? So the best example I like to use is, say you have 4 people in each, or 1 person in each corner of a page, right? And Coastal Collabs is your centerpiece. We are now a gateway to share your story. Okay, so say each person has 300,000 followers. Okay, and say you have, I'll use a fitness industry and a car industry on a TJ Hunt, if people are familiar with that. That TJ Hunt does cars, Christian Guzman does fitness. All right, and just say, for simple numbers, each of them has 300,000 followers. 75,000 of each will be interested in each other's niche. So you follow with that?
Okay, yeah,
okay.
I see.
So say there's the people that follow Guzman who like fitness, and then you have TJ Hunts who are into cars. Now you bring those two together and their stories. Now you cross their industries, and you could share, in a sense, they could touch more lives in that sense. Does that make?
Okay, I like that. That's an interesting aspect. I don't know anyone that's actually trying to collab industries. That's really cool.
Well, that's the thing, is because I think the best thing I like to say about this is we live in such a me society where we're trying to offer you a you opportunity. Okay. And what this is doing is, like, and that was just a small example. I want to use the example of, like, just say on the fitness industry who had an eating disorder. Okay. Had an eating disorder, really helped them to persevere, find fitness, find nutrition. And now they're like this huge name in the industry. But say you have no idea who that person is, but we do their story and how they've gotten to that point. You might then be like, wow, I didn't even know they existed, and I had an eating disorder. And now, or I currently have one. Now you found that person and they can help you. Next thing you know, you went from being unhealthy to super healthy.
Wow.
Trying to touch, and not only is this helping you, but we're allowing that person to be able to touch more lives than they already were by creating this gateway.
That's amazing, man. I think that's actually really cool, because you're almost creating like a mentorship / opportunity for people to work together to create a better lifestyle for other people. That's amazing.
And I think even deeper than this, like I'm going to give you one more example. So if you think of Christian Guzman, I like to use him as an example because he's the guy I watch the most on YouTube. If you were to come on his channel right now, you would just see a really rich guy, clothing company, drives a Lamborghini, a Range Rover, all this stuff. And you just think, wow, this guy's like a total tool or whatever, you know? I've been watching him since I was 17 years old. And I see that he started with like a very small company, you know? So I know that that's what perception people have of him isn't actually real. Yeah. You know, because our perception is our reality. So we want to provide this opportunity and provide this perception of that person so then become the actual reality.
That's amazing, man. I think that's sick. And that's one thing that people don't get is like we said, it's like a 5-year plan, right? And you know, you're not going to blow up overnight. And then when you see the success and you see all the things that they wanted unfold, but it's because they created that opportunity for them. And yeah, I think that's, you know, what your business is going to do is really change the game because you're giving people that opportunity to get mentored, to get that, to see and connect with someone that was in their boat. That's amazing.
So for instance, we have our first story that we're doing. He actually is a power lifter. Now to start, we will be hitting our niche, which is fitness, because that's just the majority of the people that we know. And this kid, if you're familiar with the First Form supplement company, Anthony Frasillo.
I've never heard of him, no.
Okay, so they're a pretty big growing supplement company right now, and this kid's name is Pat Hall, and he is a affiliate with them, but they want him to grow his brand. They want him to do well in his powerlifting competitions coming up. So we're going to film, and he has an interesting story, which I'll let be shared through our, you know, platform when we get it done because it's still in production. But he has an interesting story, and if he does well in this competition, he's actually qualifying for the Arnold Classic next year in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Okay, so it's a qualifier, and like they want to, so we want this to also be able to open up doors. Like if we share the cinematic story, because we're gonna do our travel vlog, we're gonna do their story, and then we're gonna do a video on their niche. So we're providing an entire week on our platform for them to share their story.
Wow. That's crazy. And that's funny because that's where the future's headed to, because, you know, the storytelling is how you sell now. It's not about how good the product is. It's about, like, you know, making someone feel the story and then being like, wow, like that resonated with me. I really want to learn more. That's actually amazing. That's an amazing opportunity for people to really grow their brand and work with people that have already been in that story mode, like where there's like, oh, I went from this to this. Now I can help you get there, right? Because I know the people. That's amazing, man. I really think that's going to be a great opportunity for people to not just the business sense, but to connect to someone on more than just sales, but create an opportunity to be and to inspire people to change their life. I think that's really amazing, especially if you start off with local people that are going to become big. That's an amazing opportunity, man.
And that's where we want to go with you. Like, just say there's someone you really like or aspire to, you know, be like, or whatever the case may be, and say we meet them. You know, it's all about that networking opportunity. And and if they provide value to your life where you may have struggled, or you can relate, because it's never about likability, it's about relatability. Okay, and if you can relate to someone, we can be like, yo, dude, like I know Bailey, like we could help you out. We could bring you two together because you two add value because you've been through the same stuff. You know what I mean? And people just can vibe with that so well. So
I love that, man. I think that's going to be big, especially because that's something that I haven't really heard about. That's something that if you really take it seriously, you get some interesting, amazing people, that could be huge.
Well, that's the thing. And like, it's called, you know, reverse engineering. You know, so many people are worried about building their own personal brand, and we hope at some point, not only can you touch more lives through cross breeding these industries, but you can also grow your, like, trying to see, like, we just want to be able to touch more lives overall, you know?
Okay. Yeah. So that's how you sell, like that, and that's how you sell someone now. It's just, you got to lives in some way. You got to make them, like, it's almost like an awakening in their brain, and they're like, man, like this is an opportunity. I can really change my life through this, because, you know, the key areas in your life are health, wealth, love, and happiness, right? And if you can find a way to touch someone in any of those aspects, especially through a story that people can relate to the whole way, especially when you're creating content like that, that's a lot of value. And I mean, obviously the money will come along the way, but the value that you're going to provide to people, I think that's an amazing opportunity.
It's a win-win opportunity because not only are, like I said, are you able to touch more lives for yourself, but now you're actually growing your own brand in that sense, you know? And by you touching that other person's life, it might help them grow their brand, because now they're like, we want to aspire people to just do more, be more. Like going back to what we were talking about earlier, like being afraid to do things. If you come across someone, because there's so many people in every industry that you've never heard of before, but they're so freaking interesting, you know what I mean? And you might come across one person where you're like, wow, like I really wanted to, you know, snowboard, but I just haven't been able to find the time, or I didn't know how to. And then you come across a vlogger or someone who's big on Instagram who's really good at snowboarding, and then you start watching them and they teach you and they inspire you to go snowboard now.
Wow. That's sick, man. I love that. That's honestly an amazing idea. And like, honestly, if you guys can seriously market that really well, I mean, you guys are going to, I know you are, I can feel the fire within you guys to really create that. But man, that's going to be a huge opportunity. So how did you, what gave you that idea? Like, what was your big why that was like, man, I think this is a really good idea?
Well, it's funny. Like I always knew I wanted to help people out. I told you I was a journalism major my freshman year of college. So it's funny because for those of you that might not know what this is, I did switch over to kinesiology, and that's the study of human movement. And it's funny because what we're doing now, me and my cousin, is a form of journalism. It is journalism, just in a new way. And when I was doing kinesiology, I was going to actually go back to school to be a physical therapist, or a chiropractor. And I knew I always wanted to help people. And I didn't know how much of an impact I could actually have to help people. And I feel like by me and Steven creating this platform, we were able to indirectly, through our platform, touch more lives. Like, because I don't know if I could personally grow to be like, you know, let's just use this guy as an example, The Rock. You know what I mean? Like, he could create such a big platform to touch so many lives. And I don't know if I could ever get that big. But if I create a platform that can and help other people touch more lives, then that's hands-on, like, all I can ask for, you know what I mean? And that's just how it came. I was actually just driving home one day from work, and I'm a personal trainer at a gym, and I was just driving home thinking, listening to music, and I just got lost in my head, and it just came, it clicked, and I thought of the name, and I was like, this is it, man. This is it.
Oh, I love those. I love that moment of realization, because all of my ideas, especially with the podcast, I listen to podcasts, but the funny thing that a lot of people don't know about me is I like to talk to myself, especially in my car when I got no music on. I'm like, I need those moments of like, I need that realization. Like I need to, especially when you're dealing with something in your life, it's like, man, I need to just to talk it out, talk myself out of it. So, and when I came out with the idea of a podcast, it was like, man, this is affecting me in some sort of way. But I know but the thing is with a lot of people now is that it's the older generation or the people that are in their late 20s, early 30s that are creating the other opportunities. But what about the young people? What about the people in their early, like teens to early 20s? Those are the people that are going to be changing the world in the next 10, 20 years. Right. So I was like, can you imagine how many people, if I were to connect with as many young people as I can and hear their stories and hear what they're providing, if I and just through conversation, right? If I can create that change, like I was like, yeah, that's amazing.
And it's funny because I was actually thinking about that the other day, and I was like, I was thinking about the lives that I would touch about people who are my age. And then I was thinking, but what about the 5-year-olds that are still growing up and they see their stories and they're like, wow, like I'm a 6-year-old and I'm seeing what these 17, 18, 20, 22, 25-year-olds are doing. I could do that, you know, and that's such a young and at such a young age, it inspires them to just do more and be more and realize that like whatever societal norms there are, like it's not always that way. And another thing we want to do is like, there's going to be people with sad stories who persevered the hell out of it. You know what I mean? And we want to let people be like, wow, there's really no excuse. You know what I mean? Like
it really isn't, man. Because everyone has their story, right? Everyone has that either tragic past, but they overcome that, right? Because we all deal with obstacles in our lives, but it just takes that one person to be like, dude, I understand. I know. Like I I've been through that, right? And it just takes that one influencer, right? Because everyone deals with their own story. Everyone, especially with like either mental illness or physical illness or losing someone in your life, everyone deals with that. But a lot of people, they lose that hope because of those moments. But if you can really connect with someone to be like, man, you really changed my life because you went through what I went through. I think that mentorship is a really good opportunity, especially
like relatability, not likability.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because there are so many people now that are just trying to find that person, right? But it's like, if you pay me $10,000, I'll be that person for you. But it's like, no, it's providing value to people that is like from the heart, right? And not just, okay, give me money and I'll help you. Right?
That's the thing, and for us, it's free. Like we want to travel, we want to tell your story, and we want you to provide value for other people and people that you have not been able to reach yet. We want to be that opportunity to share your story, so now those people can find you and you can touch an extra 100,000 lives than you already were.
Exactly, right? And free value, and it's the whole thing that every social media influencer is doing. If you just provide enough free value, people will pay you for your time. But that takes time, and that ultimate product that you're going to be releasing, the more value you provide to people, the more people are going to be willing to pay. But it just takes that time and that the thoughtfulness for you to just create free help, right?
So as far as pay, I don't mean to cut you off, but as far as pay goes, man, like I don't look at that as a motivating factor for me, because I believe if you stick to what you want to do out of life, it is going to just eventually be a byproduct of the work that you put in. And if you stick to your core roots and values, so you're doing this podcast, and right now, whatever the case may be, if you're not making money off of it, well, if you stick to your core values, eventually it's going to go.
Oh man, that's exactly it. Like I just like talking, right? I love talking to people. I love meeting people that are just get as excited as I am, because when you're from a small town, when there's not as much opportunity around as you would like, you got to find people, right? That's why I think the power of social media is amazing, and that's and I think what your platform is going to do is use that power of connecting people through social media, through meeting people, through word of mouth. Like, you're really going to change their lives, because those are the biggest platforms in the world, and you're just going to create that value, and the money will come. Yeah. Like, I don't really care if I make money from this podcast. That's a cherry on top, but who cares, right? It's the value that you provide to people. And like you said, helping people is way more important, because that's ultimately what is going to stick with you, and what's going to stick with others is how much you help them change their lives. So I think what you're doing, honestly, man, is going to be amazing.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. It's like a fun time. And like the thing is, when you start finding that thing that you can work on, like time isn't a thing, because you want to work on it for life. You know what I mean? And again, going back to how young we are, like we have so much time. People want to give up, and I can tell by talking to you, even like it's not something you're going to give up on. You're just going to keep hustling, and that's why I'm excited, because I got a whole lifetime just killing.
We got so much time.
Yeah, brother.
Now, last question I'm going to ask you before we end this off. If there is one piece of advice that you can give to anyone that is aspiring, especially young people that are aspiring to keep that motivation up and keep working towards their goals or building something for themselves, what advice would you recommend for them to persevere and not give up no matter what?
Find your circle. And sometimes you might have to cut your entire circle and build a new one. Because I had to do it. You know what I mean? I was surrounded by so many people for my 4 years of college, and they just didn't vibe with what I was trying to do. And I knew going in the last year of school that there was a certain path I wanted to go down, but I wasn't around the right people. And when I graduated, I was finally able to cut that circle off. And it took a while to build a new circle, and you are going to be alone for a little bit of time, but you then start to leave room for those people that can vibe with what you want to do. So take advantage of that. Be very self-aware that like you need to have the right people in your life, because if you don't have the right people in your life, it's not going to happen.
Right. Like that's, the last podcast I just did, it's funny, everyone's what everyone recommends, but it's all about, the ultimate thing that they lead to is self-awareness and around you that are going to support your dreams, because there are going to be so many people in your lives, and it could be your parents, it could be your best friends, it could be like the people that you thought were good mentors to you. They're going to discourage you, and they're going to tell you that it's not going to work, but it's creating that circle, man. I think that's a really good piece of advice, because there's so many people that the reason why they're not where they're not, the reason why they're not where they are is not because that they can't do it. It's just because they have people around them that are telling them not to do it.
Right.
So I think that's amazing. And then like what you and your cousin are going to be providing to people is just gonna blow up, just because you're going to create that circle with your service. And like that's amazing when you can literally create your lifestyle and sell that as a opportunity to people. Like you're going to change so many lives, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. And the thing is, I just want to give one more quick piece of advice. Like, don't think about the next like 2 years, 3 years. Think about the next 10, 20, 30, what it's going to be like when you die. You know what I mean? And that's why I think picking up a camera is so important, is because I don't want an obituary when I pass. I want to be able to create a documentary, and I'll be able to do that easily because I've vlogged my entire life.
That's amazing, you know man. I think that's honestly, that's amazing, because when you're older and you can show your kids how hard you worked all through video,
yes,
all through document, like that's.
Because remember when you were a kid, or your grandfather was a kid, and he was like, or your grandfather's like, yeah, I wish I could show you this picture, or I wish I could show you what happened during this time. Well, we live in a time where, guess what? When I have kids or I have grandchildren, I could be like, yo, check out this clip.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, man. And you know what? We're definitely gonna have to collab and do something. I might have to even fly out there. I don't really care, and work with you guys, man. I think that's gonna be a huge opportunity for people.
Dude, we'll definitely link up as soon as we can.
Man, I love it. All right, guys, that's the second Strand Cast. What an amazing opportunity to speak to you, man. Like, I honestly, it was an honor. I think just the value that you're going to be providing to people, and just through this podcast, let alone your opportunity that you're going to be creating for people, you're going to really change some lives, man. So honestly, it was an honor to have you on the show, and you know, you're just going to kill it, man. I can feel the fire within you, man. So good luck with everything, and you know what? We're going to talk soon, because we're going to do some collaborations, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. June 1st, Coastal Collabs will be dropping, so be sure to check that out, and I'm sure he will link that up. So, I really appreciate this opportunity. This was, for you guys that don't know, this is my first podcast, so this is really dope, honestly.
Yeah, man. So put your, actually, last thing before we go, put your, tell everyone your social media links, where they can find you at, and if you have a website, I will put that down below. Michael_Czern,
CZERN. I have a very long last name, so I had to cut it down. And then the website will be coastalcollabs.com on June 1st. But that is my @ name for my Twitter, my Instagram, my Snapchat. Kept it the same for all 3 platforms. And then on Facebook, Michael Chernikowski.
Boom. That was sick, man. All right, guys. Take care. And you know what? Always remember, grind silent, live loud. Let's kill it. See you soon, guys.